Thank you very much. Many people, unless they've avoided movies for the last 30 years, I'm sure may have seen the movie called Forrest Gump, which is a 1994 American comedy drama. Now, in the opening scenes of the movie, young Forrest waits for the school bus. And when it arrives, the door opens, and the driver asks, "Are you coming on?" And young Forrest replies, "Mama said not to be taking rides with strangers." Ladies and gentlemen, in today's evolving media environment, where artificial intelligence is shaping how information is produced and shared, trust is eroding, and donor support for information integrity initiatives is shrinking. My question to fact-checking organizations and legacy media, a term referable to television, radio, and newspaper: will your anchor hold? Will your anchor hold? Now, this panel discussion will explore the disruptions affecting fact-checking organizations, especially in Africa, from AI to shrinking donor funding, and prefer practical medium to long-term solutions for navigating these challenges. Are you ready? To drive the conversation, I have distinguished panelists. In fact, I have 5 panelists. So 4 of them, I'm sure you are seeing 4 of them on the platform. And the last panelist, so you, the audience, constitute the last panelist. Oh, you can give it up for yourself. Now, let me introduce properly my panelists. I have with me Abdul Hamid Yakub. He is the communication and information specialist at UNESCO Ghana office. Abdul, you can wave at the crowd. Immediately following Ahmed is Tayo Adebulu. He is a features and investigations editor at The Cable, Nigeria. Please, with a hand of applause, welcome him. Then I have a distinguished lady, Arita Mashotana, who is the head of partnerships and engagement at Africa Check. And finally, we have Enoch Nyakiri. He's a communications manager, International Fact-Checking Network at the Poynter Institute. Please, Enoch. Now, my first question, I would just like to zoom in. I'm a businessman, so I like to be business as usual. I don't do politics as usual. So, Ahmed, let's start off with you. You have played a key role in media and information literacy in Ghana and some selected countries in Africa. How has the rise in AI-generated content reshaped public perceptions of truth in Africa? Briefly.
Thank you very much. And let me say my name is Abdul Hamid because every Abdul has, Hamid. Abdul is the prefix. It has following. So I'm Abdul Hamid. And let me first put some few facts across. There is nothing like fake news. News goes through a rigorous process. So it cannot be fake. It's an oxymoron. So from today, please, never accept somebody to refer to news as fake. And information is a public good. Information is a public good. And because of that, actors work tirelessly to have a stake in information and truth. So how do we start? By our psychology, we tend to consume content or information that aligns with our biases and all that. And what is AI doing? It is re-amplifying these biases and putting us into silos. So when you are put in a silo, truth doesn't matter. It's what your silo is telling you. That is what matters. That is the first casualty of truth by AI. Mimicking and giving overwhelming misinformation to a particular group to suit their demand. So truth is no longer the key. And then, secondly, because it is able, most actors refer it as, because it is able to hallucinate reality. In that sense, it is able to mimic reality. And if it mimics reality, we tend to believe that that is the truth. So if you are exposed to this, and even additional fact is provided, no, you intend to stick to what you think is the truth. In many instances, let me refer to Africa, when our parents belonged to a WhatsApp group, and she social something, say, no, this is not true. She said, no, it was shared in my group. How will you say it was shared? She will believe what was shared in a group by somebody who has generated a content than what her local news reporter, maybe is it Hausa, is it Fulani or Yoruba news source, a news that has been verified and is out there, she will believe what is in a WhatsApp group than from the news station.
Right. So I think quickly, let me come to you, Tayo. Tayo, you operate at the forefront of verification. What would you say is the most significant new form of information disorder? So with information disorder, we are talking about misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation that is emerging in Africa.
I think we will start from AI manipulated. Hello? Okay, I think we need to start from AI manipulated information. We are in the age of AI, and we're talking about deepfakes. We're talking about doctored images, doctored photos and pictures and all that. And these clips have the potential for virality. Immediately they are shared, you see them everywhere. During the 2023 election, fact checkers struggled to compete and counter so many of these clips. And you know, AI has made it possible for everyone to be involved on the issue of AI doctored image. You know, before you needed a kind of tech skill to manipulate a video. So at the moment, all you need is a kind of prompt. You give the prompt to an AI tool, and it gives you what you need. So practically everyone is involved. You don't need the kind of tech tool. So the kind of AI manipulated information that we are dealing with right now is quite alarming, and it's quite overwhelming. Now, I'm going to give you a particular example.
Yeah, briefly.
Now, okay. There was this video recently about a general who was killed in the army, and right from the face value, we knew that video was fake. We knew it was generated via AI, but at that particular point in time, it had already gone viral. A lot of people believed it. It was shared on Facebook, shared on Twitter, and everywhere. So on the face value, we knew it was fake. Now, the main thing was, how do we counter this, and how do we tell the people that it is fake? So we had to turn to even AI tools for us to say this particular video is fake. And when we turned to some AI tools, we realized that they could not actually verify that that clip was fake. So we had to, most of the time, resort to paid AI tools just to verify some of those claims. And we had to also resort to our traditional journalism verification tools.
That's right. Now, you have a well-grounded experience in fact-checking. And I'm sure you are aware that public trust in institutions, including the media, globally is in the decline. What do you think are the drivers of distrust in fact-checking organizations?
Great question. I hope we have a full day to discuss
that. We don't. Unfortunately, we don't.
There is so much to uncover. First, thanks to CGID for organizing this event and bringing us together. It's such an honor to be here with you. I've always admired Nigeria. I'm from Kenya, although I work from a different place now. So it's a great privilege to be here with you all. So if you look at, first before I answer that question, I'm curious, by show of hands, how many in the room are either journalists or work for media organizations? I know we have different groups.
Can we see by hands those who are media personnel?
Just, if you are affiliated with media
Thank you.
in any way. Thank you. That's a good show. Yeah, so we can have an honest conversation among friends. So if you look at trust in public institutions, and we can specifically focus on the media, worldwide, it's been declining. The latest numbers is the global average in media trust is 40%. If you compare that to trust in national governments, which is what a comparison.
And the question is why?
Yeah. So it's been declining compared from, if you go back to the 60s, it's now very, very low. There are many reasons why that is the case, starting with attacks by politicians who don't like coverage, critical coverage. When you're holding them accountable, they call that fake news. And because media doesn't fight back, that mischaracterization sticks with that. And lack of radical transparency is an issue. The audience needs to know how fact checkers operate, the methodologies, and journalists in general, so that they can trust the end result, which is the product. They also need to know that journalists are there to serve them, not serve the interest of another group. Okay. Right now, it doesn't seem to be very, very clear that journalists are there to serve the audience. They represent the audience in holding all these people that they have elected into office to account. So there are many reasons, but those are some of the main ones.
Now, I'm just curious, Enoch, staying on you, how do fact-checking organizations begin to build credibility in order to be relevant, considering the drivers of distrust as you have narrated?
Yeah. My suggestion is to be radically transparent, be very, very authentic. If there is one thing we can learn as journalists, we can learn from the rise of influencers who are not non-partisan. They have their own political biases, but they seem to enjoy higher trust with the audience. Is authenticity. They are very authentic with their audiences. They show all the behind the scenes, all the process that leads to the production of their what they deliver to the audience, the way they tell stories. So we should learn from that. We should be way more authentic, explain all the processes that we rely on to deliver news, put journalists, human journalists, ahead of the brand. Wow. Right now, if you look at the younger generation, there is total decline in trusting institutions. It's more human to human. So that's what the focus should be.
Now, Arita, you have a significant experience in partnership and international relations. In fact, you have a well-grounded background. And Enoch hinted at the fact that for fact-checking organizations to stay relevant, they must be authentic. But the reality is that donor funding is shrinking. Right. And you agree with me that long-term sustainability is a major concern here. What pressures does this create for fact-checking organizations in Africa? Just tell us.
Well, there's a lot of pressure at this point. As we all know that there is shrinking in terms of donor funding. At this moment, we can look at it in two ways. The pressures, obviously, because there's limited grants at the moment, so it's extremely competitive, for one. Number two, it's also increasingly restricted.
Okay.
Previously, we used to have unrestricted and core funding easily available for many fact-checking organizations, so that has changed. And lastly, the funding periods have become shorter. You'd have opportunities for 3 years, but now if you come across an opportunity for a year, you're jumping up and down as an organization. So those are some of the challenges that we're currently facing.
Okay.
Yes.
I think people will be interested in finding out what are the opportunities that this very situation creates.
Okay, this has basically forced us to think outside of the box and to kind of become evolutionary in a way. So for one, we have to diversify income by models, right? So instead of just depending on grants, we have to now start monetizing our expertise inside our house in terms of our training, for instance, our data products, verification services, or whatever other services that you might have in-house. So we really need to look at it and start monetizing those services. And also just looking at mission-aligned partnerships, right? And lastly, as well as regional collaborations, similar to what we do at Africa Check with our Africa Facts Network and the members inside of them. So yeah.
Very well, very well. Now, Yakub, let me come to you. I think you have dealt with CSOs back home in Ghana, and I'm sure across, in some other jurisdictions. What are some thematic areas you would suggest for fact-checking organizations to begin to focus on in order to attract sustainable funding? Yeah, it's on. It's on.
Thank you. Just get this across to AI is not God. When we realize that the AI is not God, and we can use that same AI for fact-checking organization to be quicker and faster in real time, we can compete with a lot of misinformation and disinformation out there. The funding, let's look within, because foreign funding or platform funding cannot go on forever. So within Africa, we can think in this instance within our box. We can, for a long time, we've seen governments as duty bearers that we should keep on their toes all the time. When it comes to funding on fact-checking, we can work with governments because there are issues that will come up that has to do with the general population, that they might need support to counter the narratives. So we can work with government. And within, we can sort of set up paywalls for contribution from within philanthropic organizations to contribute to this. So I would say we can work with duty bearers and government. It's not in instances that will always be in opposition, and then we can also work with investors within the continent to get additional funding, because it will serve their purpose when we timely report on facts instead of misinformation.
Right. I'm sure you work with a network of allied fact-checking organizations with similar focus. Now, I'm sure many of your member organizations have representatives here, and they will be curious in finding out what the network is doing to cushion them in the midst of this shrinking donor funding environment.
Yeah, for those who may not know, the International Fact-Checking Network, or the IFCN, is the one that accredits fact-checkers from around the world, like Africa Check, like Dubawa, and others. So worldwide, we have a network of 180 organizations. They have to renew their membership, so it's been rising. And the IFCN, where I serve as communications manager, supports all these organizations with many, many resources to grow their operations. So for anyone who has been paying attention, 2025 has been a rough, and I mean rough, year for fact checkers, as it has been for other independent media organizations. On January 7th, Mark Zuckerberg of Meta ended the third-party fact-checking program in the US, and that program actually was the leading source of revenue for fact-checkers. So that sent shockwaves worldwide with expectation that it might actually end for the rest of the world. It hasn't yet. So IFCN has been doing many things to support fact-checkers during this very rough period, very turbulent times. One of the things that we just did a couple of weeks ago, which I encourage IFCN accredited fact-checkers in the room to pay attention to, is the launch of a new grant round called Sustain. So this round will award fact-checkers, and it will prioritize fact-checkers from the Global South, which includes Africa and Nigeria. So it will provide $30,000 US to fact-checkers to continue their core operations while trying to figure out long-term sustainability that my friend was talking about. So that's one. There's another. There's a group called Sustainability Working Group, which I chair, which is made up of representatives from around the world. It explores ways fact-checkers can use other revenue models to become more sustainable. So through that group, we've organized events, webinars, where fact-checkers learn from one another, where things have really worked well. So we have other grants, but we don't have time to go into all of that.
Right,
so
that's right. Now, Arita, if you could recommend at least one long-term sustainable funding model for fact-checking organizations in Africa, what would that be?
Oh, that's a tricky one, but I'll definitely go for a hybrid sustainability model.
Right.
We cannot use one model at this point, especially seeing the climate that we find ourselves in. So it will be one that blends diversified income revenue, diversified partnership, as I mentioned earlier on, and also mission-aligned partnership. And in terms of why this would work, in my opinion, number one, I think especially for the editors, we're always trying to make sure that we protect our independence. So if we do diversify income, that means that we don't have one dominant funder.
Okay.
Therefore, that means that our mandates and outputs are not kind of dictated by one major donor.
That's right. Now, Tayo, let me come to you. Many have argued that fact-checking by itself alone is not enough. What should be the next focus?
For me, I think if you say fact-checking is not enough, that's an attempt to undermine the kind of sophistication that fact-checking has brought to the game. Now, before fact-checking came, we did the normal media stuff with our credibility and all that, doing the normal ethical stuff. But there is this kind of specificity that fact-check has brought into the ecosystem. Because we are talking about deep fakes that cannot be generated, that cannot be verified by most AI tools. But with fact-checking, we have a lot of methods, we have a lot of tools, and we can now train more journalists to see beyond the ordinary. Because most of the time, we can't just take this discussion away from AI. It's becoming more sophisticated, it's becoming more diverse, and we are talking about audience that want you to feed their tribal and religious sentiments. So if you say it is not enough, for me, it's like an attempt to undermine that particular sophistication. But nevertheless, fact-checking is there. It has come to stay. But then we have to deploy traditional tools that we've always used over time to fact-check facts, to fact-check a lot of things. So for me, it is enough. And that doesn't mean we do not have to make use of our traditional journalistic instincts to say, even from the face value, this could be fake. Even from the face value, we know that this is not the real thing. So we question from the angle of fact-check, we question from the angle of our journalistic instincts, but the fact is, fact-check has come to stay, and it needs to stay.
Right, thank you. Now let me come to you, my fifth panelist. Oh, are you not happy? My third panelist. Oh, yeah. No, so let me come to my fifth panelist. Let me take first round of questions. Please, the main moderators, if you could moderate the question. Let me take first 3 questions, please. First 3 questions. So, yes, first 3 questions. Please be brief, straight to the point. Cut out all the intros, okay?
All right. My name is Olaide Abioye from Crest FM Ibadan. I want to talk about funding, and I want to ask the panelists. We all know that funding from foreign agencies is shrinking and going to extinction gradually. It shows the importance of fact-checking in everything we do as journalists. But it seems the government, local governments, especially Nigeria, does not see fact-checking as an important thing to fund in recent times. So I want to ask, we have the Education Trust Fund, we have NEL Fund, we have PTDF, and all sorts of funds here in Nigeria. How can journalists, media practitioners, engage the government to have such a system of funding, local funding for fact checkers, instead of waiting for foreign organizations who may have their own interest at to fund us to fact check our stories here in Nigeria? I know the NUJ president is here. How can we come together and ensure that the government put up such funding platforms for fact checkers in Nigeria?
Thank you very much. The second question, please.
Good afternoon. I'm Mukaila Said by name. I work with the National Orientation Agency. Now, I'll start by saying that we won't be surprised if we can say we have many people who have little or no knowledge about what fact-checking is and even the trend in AI. And these are a set of people who are mostly in the grassroots. Now, my question is this. What are the efforts geared towards sensitizing people in the grassroots who also come across many of these content? Now, what are the efforts geared towards sensitizing them about fast-checking and the global trend in AI?
Thank you very much. Let's take the last question. Don't worry, if you have lingering questions, I'll come to you. But we'll take the first round of 3 sets of questions. Please go ahead.
So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Abaka Khalifa. I freelance. So thank you for knowing that we have someone from NOAA here, because they have a very important role to play.
Very well.
The question I want to ask is about how far we can push this issue of fact-checking down to the grassroots, because being an African, let me use Nigeria as a case study. You see, I feel very disappointed when you even see persons, even in the academia, share certain things. Sorry. There are things that when I see them, without even checking, I know it's fake. Right? So when you share Premium Times, Sahara Reporters, and which other organization? I think there are 3 organizations that one of my source of getting genuine reports is Humango. You get so there's this dangerous trend that once you see something, the person in the center said something about, before you realize a fake video had gone viral online. How do we work or put energy in ensuring that those at the end or at the bottom understand the essence of fact checking? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, let's begin to respond to their questions. I'll start off with Arita. How do we build a local funding system, a local sustainable funding system, at least to drive fact-checking activities?
Well, that's quite a challenge, because, I mean, at this point, as you can see, in terms of the international organizations, they're not funding us, and they also tend to have an agenda.
Right.
And unfortunately, it goes the same with local. At some point, when we become dependent they'll now put their foot forward and behave similarly to our predecessors. So I think the most important thing that we need to really realize at this point is that we need to pivot as fact checkers. The time has come, it's uncomfortable, but the reality is we really, really need to invest aggressively in institutional capacity. We need to reach a point whereby we don't need funding. Funding is a nice to have for perhaps media literacy activities that will go on the ground to educate the average person about the importance of fact-checking. But day-to-day survival as an organization, it's really important to build our institution capacity.
That's right. You know, just take a bite at the sherry for me.
Yeah, that's a very good question from my friend, the first one. I want to caution against, as journalists, as fact-checkers, against receiving funding from governments because, as my friend here said, that likely comes with some conditions, like there's no free money mostly in many cases. So if you, as a fact checker, you are supposed to be independent, non-partisan. So if the government funds you, and then you are supposed to fact check something that will go against their interests, their PR, they are unlikely to be very happy with your work. So I've seen in other places from the East, so maybe the environment might be different, where the government has so much influence. And if we pivot back to trust, for the audience to trust that you are serving their interest in holding those in power to account, being seen to be under the influence of those in power is quite dangerous. And for those of us at the IFCN, nearly all fact checkers aspire to have that accreditation because it comes with so much credibility. If you are receiving direct funding from governments without a clear policy that is not influencing your editorial decisions, you won't succeed in getting that accreditation, which is high standards in impartiality and transparency. So,
right.
Careful.
Abdul, how do we build local sustainable funding for fact-checking activities? Briefly.
Just going back to my previous listing, that we have to leverage on homegrown solutions. Internally, we have to look at how can we partner businesses and in certain cases, government for funding. Why am I saying this? Let me give an example of Ghana.
Yes, briefly.
Ghana, we have state media. The state media, they are funded by government, but they have editorial independence guaranteed under the Constitution. They have, to some extent, an ombudsman who makes sure there's no direct government interference.
Right.
But on the grassroots, quickly, we need to invest in media and information literacy.
Okay.
Throughout the process, from lifelong learning, youth groups, and in schools. And during the UNESCO General Conference, Nigeria Institute, Media and Information Institute, was classified as a category B in the media information literacy, meaning they will do research and all that regarding that ecosystem. So this is how we have to invest. And then, in some way, the Nigerian government has invested a lot in media and information literacy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Now, Tayo, let me come to you. So, someone is asking, what are the efforts geared toward sensitizing the grassroots?
I think that is where collaboration comes in. There's one powerful tool that I understand in journalism, and that is radio. Now, one thing I've come to understand is the fact that most fact-checking organizations are online-based, and most of them they operate within the print space. But I've realized that when you talk about the grassroots, you cannot underestimate the power of the radio. I see the radio as a very, very powerful platform through which you can disseminate information. Most of the time, during elections, you will see Dubawa, you will see the Cable Check, you will see Premium Times, all churning out fact checks, misinformation alert, and all that. But it is quite rare for you to see such content on radio.
Right.
So for me, I see it as a kind of collaboration that must happen. We need to collaborate with our local independent radio stations. So we need to churn out those fact checks via radio. For example, my grandma doesn't read online newspapers, but the fact is she listens to radio. So if those fact checks are read out on radio, there's possibility that we might hit the core of the grassroots.
That's right. Now, let me take the last round of questions. Please, the last three, please. We are still within time, so let's take.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Lanre Arugundade.
Yes, please.
Executive Director of International Press Center. It's not a question, but just some quick addition.
Very brief.
I'd like to reinforce what one of the panelists said in the middle about the fact that journalism should naturally come with the instinct to fact check. And I always say that the first fact-checking tool of a journalist or a good journalist should be his or her journalistic common sense. I think there are things that common sense should tell us that are not true. Because if you look at the various tools that we have, technology and so on, you can't be using them almost all the time. You probably have nothing else to do.
Right.
And I think we should have that, discerning mind for us to know that some things are not true. I've seen journalists on social media, and this is my second point. These attempt to be on social media, to get likes, to get followers. They share information that are not verified, including news of people being dead. When we know that the commonest thing you can do is to look at the source of that story, whether it's from the family or from a close associate and the rest, of them.
Right.
Now, when it comes to grassroots, because I know you'll be raising that. That's my last point.
Briefly.
I feel that for the grassroots, the traditional media or the legacy media would have to play a greater role in bringing knowledge of disinformation, misinformation, and the need to fact check to them.
Right.
And we can do this through radio. I take radio, for example, and I'm glad that we have seen one or two journalists that we trained on fact-checking, doing fact-checking in Igbo language, running a local language where they look at information that is false and they relay it to the audience using the local languages and telling the audiences to be careful what they do. At elections, we need to do more of that.
Thank you.
I would expect that our radio reach millions of people, and through that way, people can begin to know that it's not everything that comes their way they should believe or they should share.
That's right.
Thank you very much.
That's right. Thank you. Briefly, please.
Hello, everybody. My name is Kabiru Tairo, CDID country rep in Côte d'Ivoire. My question is in French.
Please, you can put on the headset for the translation. Please be brief with your question.
D'accord. Tout à l'heure, j'ai entendu un intervenant parler du financement du fact-checking. Je prends l'exemple de la Côte d'Ivoire, où est-ce qu'il y a le média d'État qui a également un département de fact-checking. Dans ce contexte-là, comment est-ce que les journalistes qui travaillent dans ces médias-là peuvent-ils garder leur indépendance et leur intégrité, puisque c'est un média qui appartient à l'État? Puisque l'intervenant a dit qu'il faut faire attention au financement qui vient du gouvernement. Mais dans ce cas, le média appartient au gouvernement et il y a un département de fact-checking à l'intérieur. Comment est-ce qu'on garde l'intégrité à ce niveau?
Thank you very much. Enoch, let me start off with you.
Yeah, that's
briefly.
That's a tough one because when the media organization or the newsroom is owned by the government and the government controls the coverage or has influence over editorial decisions, I think that's problematic.
Right.
But we can learn from other organizations. Look at the BBC, for example. The BBC is it's a government institution, but editorially, it's very independent, it's trusted, it's one of the best media outfits. We have a few scattered examples from around the world, so there is a way to work around that. If on the editorial side, you are independent, you make decisions, you can earn the trust of the people.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I think in wrapping up briefly, in 30 seconds, starting off with Abdul, if you could recommend one actionable strategy for fact-checking organizations in Africa to stay relevant, resilient, and trusted, what would it be? 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
The clock
the
is
future
ticking.
is good. Fact-checking is now part of the ecosystem. One, they have to leave their ghettos and collaborate and work across the media space. We find them as being in their island and wanted to contribute. They have to be part of the ecosystem. It should be seamless. And if there need be, they should not shy away from working with government. We saw it during COVID. During COVID, fact-checking companies work with government to stem the pandemic. So there's that possibility.
Thank you very much. Tayo, 30 seconds.
Yeah, for you to sustain your integrity, I think do not succumb to popular bias. They will accuse you of working for the government.
Right.
They will accuse you of saying you are working for this regional group. They will say you are working against this particular religion. Please do not succumb to popular bias. Just stay glued to your truth, and that's the thing.
Thank you very much. Arita, in 30 seconds, one actionable strategy.
The colleague over here already mentioned it, but I think it's really important to maintain integrity, number one. So with integrity comes financial independence.
Right.
Back to the initial point of institutional capacity building.
Right. Enoch.
For me, put the audience at the center of everything you do, and everything else, all the problems we've talked about will fall into place. Tell human stories, strong human stories, in plain language, not PR, not jargon, not bureaucratic language. Speak to the audience the way they expect to be spoken to, and actually address issues that affect their lives. I think everything else will fall into place if you do that.
Thank you very much, distinguished guests. Please give a hand of applause to them. Now, this conversation is a stark reminder that fact-checking isn't just about correcting falsehoods. It is about safeguarding public trust, strengthening democratic dialogue, and building sustainable institutions. The challenges, ladies and gentlemen, are real, but so are the opportunities. We believe, and I believe, with strategic communication, innovation in verification tools, we will be able to build sustainable ecosystem or fact-checking ecosystem in Africa. Thank you very much for joining this panel conversation, and we are grateful.
A round of applause, please.